And welcome to everyone to another Mikey Live. This is where it all happens, folks. This is news discussed, not told. And as usual, it is my pleasure to be with you for another day. Just to tell you all that is happening here in Grenada and the Caribbean, some of the big stories that really matter. That is exactly what we are telling you about today. So welcome to the program. For those of you who are viewing the program for the first time, we also would like to welcome you and let you know that it is such a pleasure. It is always a pleasure, at least just to be on the program and to tell you what's going on really, all right? Gotta say good day going on to the people who are in the cemeteries looking at Mikey Live. A couple people said that they cannot miss the event at the cemetery, but they will be there and watch Mikey Live at the same time. So big up to the people who are watching from the cemetery. All right, folks, so let's talk about some of the big stories that's making the news. Outbreak of hand, foot and mouth disease in Grenada, and we have the Dr. Ansley Mokeke from the Divine Medical Center and Diagnostic Services to talk to us about that. Police will be voting tomorrow. We're talking about for the referendum, and we have some election reminders for you as well. PM gets involved in GBN impasse. Alberto on $200,000 bail. We're going to tell you about that. And police investigating an incident that happened on sea in St. Lucia. We have raw footage for you on that. Then 3 dead in a car crash in St. Lucia. We have more to tell you about as well. 9 earthquakes in 9 days in Trinidad and Tobago, unheard of. And we're going to tell you more about that as well. All right, folks, we want to remind you that the headlines was brought to you through the kind compliments of Duty Free Caribbean and Kodomi and Emirates International. We do encourage you at this point in time to share the program. Go ahead, hit share so that other people will see what's happening here. We're coming back.
And so it begins, a journey like no other. Jungles so lush, they make emeralds jealous. Water that sparkles like diamonds. Mountains with more facets than precious gems. This is where good times are had, where love is strengthened, where memories are formed. And when it all comes to an end, bring home something that will never fade. Colombian Emeralds International. Bring home more than a memory.
The Duty Credit Union, in collaboration with Waggy Promotions, invites you to its first ever Members Market and Fun Day, Saturday, November 3rd, Monrouge Playing Field. Join us as we put our members' talents on display. Fashion, food and drink, arts and crafts, and so much more. Plus, special offers from us at the Credit Union and our partners. That's not all. We have lots in store for the entire family. Bring the kids along for a day of fun. Bouncy castles, rides, and pictures with the favorite cartoon characters, live performances from our local artists, free entry and health check. Starting time 12 noon and goes on till Saturday, November 3rd. Monrouge Playing Field is the place to be. It's your chance to support small business ventures in Grenada. Proceeds will be donated to the Grenada Kidney Foundation. Bring your friends and the family along. Duty Credit Union, it's where you belong.
Standing on, make it go. The countdown has begun, and time is running out. Shop at Courts today and make this season epic with the latest in electronics, appliances, stylish furniture, and so much more. Only at Courts, bringing value home.
All right, folks, welcome. And of course, this is it right here. This is Mikey Live. News discussed, not told, folks. Of course, for the first timers, welcome. You'll see what we're talking about. All right, guys. And yeah, in a while, we will have the Dr. Ansley Mokeke from the Divine Medical Center and Diagnostic Services. Tonight, we have a very serious topic down for discussion. Now, for those of you who are heading to the cemeteries to celebrate the life of your loved ones, those who have gone to the great beyond, well, we have a bit of information for you now. You are advised by the police, in particular the motoring public, all right, that owing to the celebration of the Feast of All Saints today, the following traffic arrangements will be in effect. Okay, one-way traffic. Cemetery Hill will operate as a one-way road system with access only from the Upper Church Street, Old Fort end. Vehicles will not be allowed to enter Cemetery Hill from the River Road end. Old Fort Road will operate as a one-way traffic road system with access only from the Cemetery Hill or Upper Church Street end. No vehicles will be allowed to access from the Lucas Street end. All right. No right-turn vehicles exiting the Lacroix Crematorium car park would not be allowed to make a right turn onto Cemetery Hill, so you have to go down. No parking. No parking will be allowed along the River Road public road from the roundabout at Lacroix Crematorium to its intersection with the Humpback Bridge. All right, and you're asked to please be guided accordingly, and that's for tonight. Now, the traffic department of the Royal Grenada Police Force hereby notifies the general public and in particular motorists that that portion of a road in Tempe St. George's known as Back Street will be closed to vehicular traffic on Tuesday, 6th November 2018. That's between the hours of 10 a.m. to 12 noon. The Royal Grenada Police Force apologizes for any inconvenience caused. Folks, it is going to be a big day tomorrow. Referendum. And the police officers will be voting tomorrow. Referendum 2018 is here. We will be voting to determine whether or not our final court of appeal will be at the Privy Council or it will change to the Caribbean Court of Justice. Tomorrow, God's willing, police officers will take to the polls. The special voters, they are called, because when the general voting happens, the police will need to be free. All right, so that is going to be taking place tomorrow, and the polling will, I think it opens at 6 and closes at 5. All right, and as members of the Royal Grenada Police Force takes to the polls on Friday, 2nd November, the general public is reminded that it is an offense under the Representation of the People's Act on polling day to supply, sell, or consume alcohol during the opening and closing hours of the poll. No alcoholic beverages should be sold tomorrow between 6 a.m. and 5 p.m. This is coming from the police, and these are the general election rules, that you cannot sell alcohol during these hours tomorrow. If you do so, you can get yourself in some serious problems. Now, during the hours when the poll is open, you are not allowed to assemble or to congregate within 100 yards of any building in which is situated any polling station. Now, according to police, any person who is found in contravention of the law shall be liable on summary conviction to a fine of $500 or to imprisonment for 6 months. The general public is to be guided accordingly. Right. Oh yeah. So we heard that the Prime Minister has gotten to some degree involved in the whole impasse at the Grenada Broadcasting Network. You understand? Yeah, man. Cause you know the whole thing with the general manager and the staff and all that. Yeah, I'm telling you. So Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell, he has called for a meeting of disputing parties, and that is in effort to end the lingering conflict at the Grenada Broadcasting Network over the conduct of embattled General Manager Odette Campbell. You understand? They say the Prime Minister Mitchell says he has given government directors on the GBN board, Troy Garvey and Philomena Robertson, clear instructions to take to majority owners, One Caribbean medias, you understand, to talk to them about the whole situation, have some dialogue. You understand? So let's see what's going on. Now, they are saying that the staff are demanding that Campbell be removed as the general manager of the station, of the entity. You understand? According to the PM, there should be a meeting of the minds. I don't know if that suggestion has been implemented yet. I still suggest that it is the only way. Those were the words of the Prime Minister. You understand? So he said that they should get some sort of resolution to the whole business. They said, according to this article from Royal Titus, terrified GBN workers for years have been complaining about Campbell's hostile management style, accusing her of offenses ranging from bullying, expletive-laden threats, right, and cronyism, to jumping on workers' desks, raising her skirts and hurling abusive or using all sorts of comments. See, hurling abusive comments. You understand? I don't know what's according to Titus in this article. You know, so they say, well, all right, seems like the Prime Minister will get involved and see how best they can resolve the business. All right, so let's see what's going on in the meantime. Well, yeah, the next bit of news that we have to tell you is that Alberto is not a hurricane. You understand? He's a man, a Dominican Republic national. You guys will remember that he was caught by police on Sunday, October 28th, with a quantity of cocaine. All right, now he appeared in court today. You know, so here's what. He is a supervisor, and he was nabbed by police in the vicinity of Black Forest, St. George, with a quantity of cocaine, according to the police, in a vehicle. Of course, the vehicle make a real talk too, you know. People say, well, you know, it's a company vehicle, this and that and the other, and they want to know, you understand? But we ain't going down that road tonight. All right, so, yes. So, he was in court today, and he was granted bail. You guys will remember we told you that he was charged with trafficking in a controlled drug and possession of a controlled drug. He was granted bail in a sum of $200,000 with 2 sureties. Added to that, he is to surrender all travel documents and report to the South St. George police station every Monday and Friday. Now, he was being represented in court by attorney Anselm Clouden. Good. We were, before coming on the air, told about an incident that happened by the stadium, well, kind of, you know, close to the cemetery, the new Wall Street now. about some sort of stabbing incident or so, but we were not able to get the facts on it. So we're just going to tell you, yes, we are aware that there might have been an incident in the area, and so we will be taking a look at it as soon as we are done with the program. One of the things that happens on a night like tonight is the lighting of the candles at cemeteries around the island. It is called All Saints, and people go around in various communities and they would find the departed, and they would sing songs, hymns, sit down, and they would reflect on the life of their loved one who has gone to the great beyond. There have been many comments as to whether or not the tradition is dying in Grenada. Now, prior to coming on the program, I would say yes, that it was, but then when I realized my numbers are not as high as it typically should be, then I realized that, hey, half of my viewers probably are at the cemetery in truth. Those who said they were going to look at Mikey Live while there probably are having connection problems. I don't know. But the mere fact that our numbers are not the same tells us that tonight many of our viewers are currently at cemeteries. I don't know of any other reason. Okay, so I think I'll reserve my judgment on the whole whether or not the tradition is dying out. All I can say is the hype going into the day today was not as it used to be. You would hear everyone talking about going into the cemetery, going by the graveside, or even lighting a candle next to the steps or wherever it is. I have not heard much of that today. So in my mind, I'm thinking, whoa, is this tradition really dying? There is another tradition that we celebrate around this time. It is the bamboo bursting experience. Every child, every boy in Grenada probably would have at one point in time in his or her life had that experience. It is the bamboo bursting experience that you should know about, and if you know nothing about that, you are too young to be on the live. It's as simple as that. There has not been much of it this year, but nonetheless it still exists. If you have not lost your eyebrow to that sort of thing, then I know, then yeah, something wrong with you. Yeah, small man, next time please do not use these plastic bottles for your kerosene, right? It's not a good idea, because these bottles can get really warm, and once that happens, well, please smash up. The bottles cannot really withstand that sort of heat. Yeah, so you get breakables. It's safer that way. All right, don't say I never teach you nothing in your life yet. But you get a good blow there. Check him. You get a nice blow there. Watch your boyfriend. You get a nice blow. Alright, so that's one of the other traditions. All you like the thing, all you like the program, no man. You understand? You understand? You don't get that nowhere else. You know what I mean? And small men bust the bamboo all the fun. You know what I mean? Yes. Alright. Okay, so we are moving on. Yes? Good. Now, Olia, the next thing we had to talk about, boy. Hey, a dramatic video is now viral on social media, where it shows that armed men aboard a sea vessel intercepted another passenger-filled boat during an alleged attack in St. Lucia. Now, we do not know the nationality of the people, you understand? But it was a very, very interesting encounter on the sea, you understand? Some of you all might identify somebody or don't know on the boat, because people right now, police are looking into it to try to find out exactly what is this all about.
Hey, just allow us to go to shore, please.
Police are working to determine the details and events that led to a brazen high-seas confrontation. In video obtained by News Force, armed men aboard what appeared to be a go-fast boat pursued and intercepted a second sea vessel filled with passengers. One man aboard the go-fast boat can be seen wielding a gun. He demands the pursued vessel to stop. A heated verbal exchange ensues. Panic sets in. Some of the passengers frantically plead to their assailants to be allowed to proceed to shore. Their appeals went unheeded. Video footage shows the gunman along with another person invade the other boat. Passengers attempted to flee to the opposite end of the now pirated vessel. Video footage appears to show an altercation before it ends after just over 50 seconds. The location where either of the boats departed from remains unknown. Police sources confirmed with News Force an investigation into the incident is ongoing. It remains unclear whether any of the passengers were harmed during the alleged attack. Sources close to the incident have indicated to News Force the confrontation occurred during the evening of October 28th. They allege a connection with the incident to the Bagatelle homicide, in which 2 people were shot later that night. Police investigators have not confirmed the alleged link. Rihani Isidore, HTS News Force.
Thank you very much, Rihani. And while we are there, folks, one of the biggest stories right now involves a crash that we were telling you about yesterday, where 3 persons perished, including 2 children. You know, they say right now the residents and a lot are really trying to come to that reality. And you know, babies, man, you know.
Only one of the 4 victims injured in the fatal October 30th Bexar road crash is still alive.
All I heard was a big explosion, so at first I thought it was a truck that the tires had exploded. But then I saw the smoke or some kind of dust coming out of here, so I quickly ran to see what had happened, and I realized that it was an accident that had happened.
6-year-old Caden Carter had to be airlifted out of St. Lucia to Martinique, where trauma surgeons are working to keep the young boy alive. Officials have described his condition as critical. The deadly crash, according to a police statement, happened at about 6:20 p.m. 32-year-old Ferguson Donnelly was the driver of the pickup truck, registration number 8752. Donnelly was transporting young Caden, his 3-year-old sibling Caleb Carter, and 9-year-old Lelahi Bobra at the time of the crash.
But at first I paid attention to the children first because they seem to be in more critical condition than the father.
Traffic officials have launched an investigation. Acting Assistant Superintendent of Police in charge of the Traffic Department, Benson DeTurville, told HTS News Force preliminary findings suggest Ferguson, heading south on the Bexar Highway, may have lost control of the pickup after overtaking another vehicle. The pickup collided head-on with a trailer truck, registration number TB7649, which was parked on the right-hand side of the roadway.
The motor pickup, from an eyewitness account on the scene, it has been stated that as soon as the motor pickup overtook this eyewitness, the motor pickup ran straight into the front of the parked truck, and at the time the truck, which was parked off the road, an excavator was being loaded onto that said truck.
The wreck rendered all 4 occupants trapped inside the pickup. They all had to be extricated from the twisted metal by officials from the fire service. Caleb Carter, Lelahi Bobra, and Ferguson Donnelly sustained fatal injuries and were pronounced dead at hospital. The fire service scrambled ambulances from 2 fire stations to the site of the deadly crash.
We had ambulances responding both from Fire Service Headquarters and Grosley Fire Station. But unfortunately, from Grosley, they were handling another emergency call, and they were in the process of handling the call. So naturally, they would have had to complete the call before they could have responded on to the scene, and that resulted in a short delay before they actually got on the scene.
Emergency crews from the fire service, traffic and police departments say assistance from residents and other road users did hamper efforts to manage the incident.
We want to thank the public for their assistance on the scene, and we also plead to them to allow the firefighters to manage the scene, because we usually have persons encroaching on the scene, which is very difficult for the firefighters to operate. So we want to appeal to the public on these emergency scenes, on fire scenes. Yes, sometimes the firefighters will request assistance from the public, but please let it be in an orderly manner.
As of October, the road fatalities count stands at 21. Rihani Isidore, HDS News Force.
21 road fatalities in an island as small as St. Lucia. Do the math. 21 road fatalities in St. Lucia. I don't know, man. Olio, the next story that I want to tell you about is unbelievable. Do you know that our neighbors, and they are so close to us, and we still cannot relate to that bit of statistic that we are going to tell you about? 9 earthquakes in 9 days in Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad started the month of November in the same manner as it ended the previous month, with an earthquake rattling it. Now, the Seismic Research Center of the St. Augustine campus of the University of the West Indies said that an earthquake with a magnitude of 4.0 shook parts of the country at around 8 a.m. Folks, it is the 9th tremor felt in Trinidad and Tobago in as many days. 9 people. I mean, fortunately though, there have not been any reports of deaths or serious damage to structures and so on. But 9 in 9 days? That's like a movie, man. And we have to pay attention to these things. 9 in 9 days, people. You understand? We have to pay attention to these things. Luckily for us, we have not had that sort of experience, though we've been having some shake-ups. The last time we had a really rough shaking up, but it ain't that bad. You understand? For us, Trinidad is currently trying to deal with the whole situation with the flooding and all these quakes, Now, there was a man, we're moving on now, right? In Trinidad, who was accused of abusing his female partner. You understand? And that thing was on social media. It went viral. There was a video, right? And this guy was, and this is the alleged person, allegedly he's the one, right? They accuse him of being the person who abusing the lady. I don't know if there's any Grenadian who didn't see that video. I can't play the video on the program. I trust that you guys saw the video, whether it's via WhatsApp or so. And people were asking that at least they find him. Well, folks, they have. He is a suspect in the domestic abuse viral video. They say he is held in the Southern Division. And according to police there, the man seen in a recent social media post threatening and abusing a woman has been arrested by officers. You understand? The suspect, they say, is a 31-year-old Ramai Trace. You understand? They say that he was arrested during an anti-crime exercise by police at around 2:30 today. You understand? They say upon receiving the information, the commissioner and them, they say, one time, like, we're moving. You understand? Now listen to this. I hope all you see the video because you will better understand what I'm talking about. They are saying that the victim is a 19-year-old Venezuelan national. They say they suspect that the girl is his girlfriend. Well, in the video, he was saying things like that, you know, and she was behaving like a little child, beating up the girl. So they say now that she's been warded at the hospital, but in stable condition. They're saying that 8 other Venezuelan nationals, 4 males and 4 females, who are in the country illegally, Trinidad, they were found in the house as well at the same time. So they, you know, they go with them too. They were also arrested. But people, the man beating up the girl, and that seemed like normal to her. That seemed like normal to her, you know, people. You don't have to take them thing. You don't have to. No. Anyway, that's the situation, so they catch you. You understand? Yes. Folks, we were telling you yesterday, boy, you know, that there is an outbreak in Grenada of the hand, foot and mouth disease. We ain't making it up. You understand? There is an outbreak of the hand, foot and mouth disease in Grenada, and ain't nobody talking about it. All the sign contractor, I don't know what's going on in the place, no. I don't hear nobody talking about what I tell the people. You know what I mean? But there is. I just hope nobody will go and counteract what I say in here. You understand? Because I find that funny. But there is an outbreak of the hand, foot and mouth disease in Grenada. You understand? And we have to talk about it. You understand? We have to talk about it. I went to the daycare and they were there, and I saw the poster and was asking people about it, and yeah. So anyway, folks, we have on your screen right now Dr. Ansley Mokeke from the Divine Medical Center and Diagnostic Services, and tonight we are going to talk about this, the hand, foot and mouth disease. Dr. Ansley, good night to you, sir.
Good night, Mikey, and good night the rest of the public.
All right, Doc. Are you seeing patients? Are you seeing patients coming in with the hand, foot, and mouth disease?
Yeah, definitely, Mikey. A couple of weeks, I've had patients that contracted a type of viral condition called hand, foot, and mouth syndrome. And that raised a lot of concern, especially to the Ministry of Health. And up to today, we still have a lot of discussion with respect to that, because it's classified as reportable infectious disease condition. So it's quite common. And, we're going to discuss that tonight, and so that the general public will be able to understand what hand and foot, what hand, foot, and mouth syndrome is all about, and also to differentiate it from other viral conditions, especially chickenpox, and that has been both of them are actually confusing to most clinicians. So, and the general public. So we are going to use this opportunity to discuss concisely the differences in terms of clinical presentation between both hand, foot, and mouth syndrome and chickenpox.
Okay, all right. That sounds good. So, Doc, let's talk about that now. Talk to us exactly about the hand, foot, and mouth syndrome now. So, what really is it?
Well, in order to define that, we know that definitely it's actually a viral condition. It's a viral condition, okay? And it's quite common. It's quite common in daycare and in most places where the toddlers, infants are kept and where they are nursed. And also, is a special type of viral condition that belongs to a group of family that is called the enterovirus, and the subclass of it is what we call the Coxsackie virus A16. That's a specific type. Though it could be caused by some other rare Coxsackie classes, but it's quite rare. But this hand, foot, and mouth syndrome usually caused by the what we call the Coxsackie virus A16 specifically. Okay, and how do we recognize this viral condition? It's like we use the word, we use these three locations. Okay, you see my hand, hand. Okay, they will have also foot. Okay, foot. Okay, and then mouth. Okay, so these conditions could affect these regions, okay? These locations. And how does it get into there? That is what we need to understand. For example, you take your child is in daycare, and because the commonest means of transmission is by contact. You know that most of these young children, they get in contact with each other. And also, as they're touching each other, we're going to also discuss the means of transmission, okay? But as they're touching each other, they're spreading these viral infections to each other. And also, sometimes it could be spread through what we call the fecal aura, or through the feces, okay? And you know, when they are exchanging through their feces, they are sometimes the diaper they actually change, and in the process of that, there could be a contact. Could be contact, skin contact between whoever that is in charge, okay, of taking care of the responsibility of these young people, and then the person starts spreading that, and sometimes you know that these children usually they're careless, putting different things in their mouth, and you cannot control that. And as they're putting that in their mouth, they're spreading it among themselves. And that's how it goes. Okay?
So is it highly, so we know that it is contagious, all right, Doc? But is it highly contagious?
It is definitely highly contagious. It's highly, and not in all cases that is highly contagious, but it's still classified as a highly contagious viral condition.
Right. All right. So let me ask this question, Doc. You said that children and so is at risk, but you also mentioned that probably who has the responsibility of taking care of them, probably so. So are you saying too that adults could be at risk for hand, foot, and mouth as well?
Yes, it is quite evidence that the incidence of hand, foot, and mouth syndrome is most common among infants, toddlers. That's the younger ones, okay? Then as one is getting older, the older children also have less chances of getting the this hand and foot mouth syndrome, and then adults could contract it, but in rare occasions. So it's not quite common in adults, and it's still not common in older children.
Doc, let's talk about the presentation of the hand, foot, and mouth. You get bumps. What does it look like?
Well, there's a way to recognize it. The way to recognize it in the mouth is different from the way to recognize it in the hand and the foot, okay? In the mouth, it appears like something like a kind of form of blister. A blister means like a small growth, a raised rash with a small fluid, okay? And then to start forming something like sore, okay? Like a small ulcer, a small cut. And that's what is noticeable around the mouth, and especially the tongue, where you have also the palate or the cheek, and then you also have around the lips, and okay? And that's where these things are mostly located, in the mouth, okay? Then in the skin, it has a way to recognize it, in the sense that it starts with a small, what we call a red lesion. A lesion that is a bit red. Okay, initially, a small area that looks reddish in color. Okay, and after some time, it starts getting raised. I mean, start increasing to what we call a small rash, which is called a purple. And then as time goes on, it might start accumulating some fluids, and that's called vesicle. Okay? And that's what is located quite around, mostly at the palm, and also the sole of the foot. These are the locations. These are places where, and once these rashes are located in this region, definitely hand, foot, and mouth syndrome is proven. In fact, it is quite possible that the patient or whoever that has such presentation in these areas might have hand, foot, and mouth syndrome.
So you earlier stated that sometimes people can get confused with hand, foot, and mouth and the chicken pox. I just wanted to, that piqued my interest a bit. Can you just elaborate on that just a bit for us?
Well, there are ways to differentiate both hand, foot, and mouth syndrome and chicken pox. Like I said, these two conditions could be very confusing with respect to in terms of diagnosis. And there are so many things that has to be put into consideration prior to which will help in terms of diagnosing either of these two viral conditions. First, we start with trying to understand what are the causes of that. First, we know that what we call the hand, foot, and mouth syndrome, which I've already mentioned, the cause is Coxsackie A16 virus. That's the commonest cause. However, chicken pox is usually caused by what we call varicella zoster virus. So it's another class of viral condition, and most times the means of transmission might be through inhalation, through droplets. Okay, and in terms of inhaling, okay, or even skin to skin touch, and that could be a means of transmission. However, there are other ways to recognize chicken pox. Okay, I have already mentioned how to recognize hand, foot, and mouth syndrome. The way to recognize chicken pox, that to differentiate it from hand, foot, and mouth syndrome, is that to start with, chicken pox will still have what we call vesicles. Like you have a small rash, that is filled up with fluids. Okay? Depending on the stages, it progresses. It might start from, both of them usually start with what we call the constitutional symptoms, like a patient during the incubation period. Incubation period means the period when this disease condition, which means the virus, when it penetrates into the body, to when the symptoms or before the symptoms will manifest. And that's called the incubation period. It's like a period of rest. Okay? A period when it's, before it becomes active or the symptoms start manifesting. Okay? And that's the contagious period. Okay? Then what happens is that after that period of fever and those malaise and some even what we call sore throat, then that will now proceed. Before that, there will be, after that, then there will be rashes. Okay? The patient will start having rashes, and the rashes will be in form of progressive. It will be in a progressive form, in which means that the initially the skin will appear red, and as time goes on, it will progress to start increasing in terms of size and also in terms of circumference and diameter start increasing, and then start piling up some fluids called the vesicles. And as time goes on, it might become purulent, and then it start building some pus. And after some time, it will start bursting, and what we call crusting. thing, okay? So these are the ways, but that does not differentiate. That's not a way to differentiate both viral conditions. One of the ways to differentiate chickenpox from the what we call the hand, foot, and mouth syndrome is that in the case of hand, foot, and mouth syndrome, the location will be like this. You will look at the child, you look at the palm, you will see that the rashes will be clustered around the palms, okay? Around the palms or around the hand, okay? And then if you also look at the dorsum of the foot, and that's the lower part of the foot, you will also recognize that the child will also have all these rashes. Then if you flashlight, because I had a couple of patients that came with that in my office last week, okay? And how did you see, what I did was I had to flashlight. Immediately, I flashlight on their oral cavity, and I had to inspect properly to confirm if these rashes are located within the oral cavity. And if the rashes are located in the oral cavity, in addition with the palms, in addition with also the dorsum of the foot, that is a classical of hand, foot, and mouth syndrome, okay? Then, paradoxically, if you want to assess a patient who has chickenpox, in the case of chickenpox, the rashes usually start from what we call the dorsal area. That means around the chest or around the face. And I start spreading. It might start going all different parts of the body. But it usually starts from the torso, either the back or even the trunk or the chest. And before it starts spreading and spreading, okay? And sometimes, in terms of fever, the time of temperature, a patient with the incubation period for the hand, foot, and mouth syndrome usually lasts between 3 to 6 days. That means the period when the disease gets into the body to when the symptoms manifest takes between 3 to 6 days. And then the temperature might also take around 2 days. That means 48 hours. After that, the patient next stage will be a patient to develop rashes and all that, okay? Then in the case of chickenpox, the incubation period lasts between 10 to 21 days. That means the period when the varicella zoster virus gets or penetrates into the body to when the symptoms or when the patient starts experiencing having symptoms. And the first symptom that the patient will present in both is most likely, and most times, fever, okay? A patient will present with high fever. And after that, that patient the fever might last for either 1 to 2 days. And after that, it will progress. The patient will now start having something like rashes that will start appearing in different patterns. So that's how to differentiate both.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And also, in terms of age, like I said, chickenpox is more common between the ages of 5 to 10 years. And then the hand, foot, and mouth syndrome, mostly common in younger children, toddlers, infants below the age of 5 years.
Okay, all right. Okay, Doc, thanks for that explanation. Somebody was asking whether or not like molding in buildings and so on could cause onset of hand, foot, and mouth, because they want to know, really, okay, so we understand how it affects human beings, but what's its origin?
Are you trying to confirm the origin of the virus itself?
Yes.
Okay. We know that most times hand, foot, and mouth syndrome, like you said, is from the Coxsackie virus, okay? And this virus, most times, if you trace the genus of this virus, it has a group of family that is enterovirus, okay? So in that case, it's not only our topic tonight is restricted to the Coxsackie virus A16, okay? The Coxsackie virus A16 is mostly common in the areas and mostly around this where you have toddlers, okay? that's where it's usually breed, okay? It's common around, and that is why it usually causes hand, foot, and mouth syndrome, okay? So in that case, in the building, it is not impossible to isolate this type of virus, okay? But what we're saying is that it is common. This is where it is common. It is more, that virus is quite common where you have children and where they get in contact with each other through contact and through fecal matters and how they get into. So these are the ways, but it's not as if it's not, you cannot breed it or find it in other locations.
Okay. All right, Doc, thanks.
Yeah.
Now, how does one at home get rid of the hand, foot, and mouth disease?
Well, the home remedies include one, because we have mentioned some of the symptoms, because the hand, foot, and mouth syndrome, which is caused by the Coxsackie virus, most times this type of viral condition is quite difficult to treat, in the sense that the treatment of the underlying cause is difficult, okay, because there is no confirmed treatment and even the vaccine for the Coxsackie A16 virus. So the treatment of this is quite symptomatic, in the sense that you have to focus on the symptoms which this patient presents. If the patient presents with fever, definitely you have to cool the body, and then you must give something like an antipyretic medication like paracetamol or what called acetaminophen to calm down the temperature. And then also looking at the vesicles or the fluids that lines within the rashes, and the patient can also, there are some home remedies like oatmeal could be applied around there, and that will also help in terms of drying these vesicles. And then also it's possible to give the patient eyes, some even, because in the process where these rashes are located in the mouth, the patient is likely to experience pain. So in that case, it will be difficult for this patient to swallow fluids and swallow. So in that case, you must swallow solid food or meals. So it's better to give the patient something that might be cooling in nature, like ice. You might also give the patient like yogurt and some ice, things that a bit soothing in the mouth, that will help the child in terms of. And then because some of the complications that the child in this condition might experience, because the child will have difficulty in swallowing fluids, so this patient will likely have dehydration. So you must make sure that you give this patient fluids, okay? And then also, because of the fact that the itching, the patient might have experienced a lot of itching, but in the case of hand, foot, and mouth syndrome, the patient is unlikely to have itching as compared to in chickenpox. In chickenpox, the patient will have a lot of itching, severe itching, which might need some kind of therapy, like calamine lotion and the rest of them, that will also help in terms of drying that. And then there are some other medications that will be given, but once it gets beyond that scope, then there is need to contact and consult and need the services of a physician, and the physician will take it up on that level and making sure that the patient is stable. Okay. And also to prevent other complications.
Right. Now, if you have already contracted the hand, foot, and mouth, can you get it again?
Yes. What happened is that this is a type of condition, disease condition that is contracted as a result of sanitation, poor sanitation, and it is quite possible that the child might actually reinfect each other again and might be able to acquire that again. You know that at that age the immune system is very poor, is very low, and so it's quite possible that the child will still reinfect each other or still get that in the future.
So what would you recommend, for example, as an action, a proactive action or so, for places like daycares, and so if they suspect that there are one or two of the children who has hand, foot, and mouth?
Well, the fact is that this is a type of disease condition that is quite reportable, and because of that there is a possibility, because that it's quite confusing because it's noted that the first period, that contagious period, the period when it is very contagious is that period of incubation period before that's the symptoms start manifesting. So, and that's when this that's when the spread skyrockets. That's when the time of that's when these conditions skyrockets, and that's when there is high possibility of transmission. So, at that time, well, you know that sometimes it's difficult to predict the time of spread. So, in that case, one of the ways to handle this is to make sure that that the daycare, that the period when the child is having temperature, and within that 3 days, it's expected that the child should be exempted from coming to the daycare and should not be exposed in the sense that it's quite possible for the child to because the child would need to be on a surveillance, to be monitored and to be looked properly at home. Okay, but in terms of the period of transmission, it is quite unpredictable because it might, even there are some occasions when after the symptoms have been eradicated or when the symptoms are cleared, it's still possible that there's transmission and the person, even at the dormant stage, the person can still be able to transmit that. So, and that makes it a bit complex.
All right. Okay. Is there any other area of this topic you thought we needed to discuss that we didn't?
Well, the most important thing is for the public to understand that this hand, foot, and mouth syndrome is existing, and then it's also important for the public to understand that one of the top viral conditions that might mimic hand, foot, and mouth syndrome is chickenpox. So it's also good for the people, everybody, and most people, the health practitioners, to understand that there are still, it is important to recognize the differences. And so that's the main message for today's discussion.
All right, Doc, you want to remind us before we leave about the Divine Medical Center and Diagnostic Services?
Well, Divine Medical and Diagnostic Services were located in Granby Street, Lower Market Hill. We render all sorts of services. We have also specialist services, general practice, family medicine, ultrasound, and then we have laboratory. Our lab is well equipped. We have render all sorts of laboratory services, and also render physiotherapy, and most medical services are being provided in Divine Medical and Diagnostic Services. And our motto is efficiency, efficacy, and confidentiality, and that's and that's it. And you could contact us by email. We have Divine Medical Services Gmail 7 at gmail.com, and then our phone numbers are 421-1529 and then 435-1539. So, and that's about the Divine Medical and Diagnostic Services.
Well, thank you very much, Doctor, for coming by and sharing the information with us, and we hope that the outbreak that we are currently dealing with will get under control sometime soon, sooner rather than later, actually.
We hope so.
Yeah?
We hope so.
All right, good. Thank you very much, Doc, folks. That's Dr. Anselm Okeke from the Divine Medical Center and Diagnostic Services. We'll take a break and come back.
The GUT Credit Union, in collaboration with Waggy Promotions, invites you to its first ever Members Market and Fun Day, Saturday, November 3rd, Monroe's Playing Field. Join us as we put our members' talents on display. Fashion, food and drink, arts and crafts, and so much more. Plus, special offers from us at the Credit Union and our partners. That's not all. We have lots in store for the entire family. Bring the kids along for a day of fun. Bouncy castles, rides, and pictures with the favorite cartoon characters. Live performances from our local artists. Free entry and health check. Starting time 12 noon and goes until Saturday, November 3rd. Monroe's Playing Field is the place to be. It's your chance to support small business ventures in Grenada. Proceeds will be donated to the Grenada Kidney Foundation. Bring your friends and the family along. GUT Credit Union, it's where you belong.
We listened to what you had to say and turn up the old rules, because losing what you paid for is just wrong. Now, lost data and talk are a thing of the past. Only Digicel gives you unlimited rollover data and talk. Just buy and renew your QuickPick bundle before it expires and keep what's rightfully yours. Never lose what you don't use. Go to My Digicel app to bundle up and roll over today. Digicel.
The countdown has begun, and time is running out. Shop at Courts today and make this season epic with the latest in electronics, appliances, stylish furniture, and so much more. Only at Courts, bringing value home.
That's right, always bringing value at home. That is Courts. Again, folks, we want to thank everyone who were part of the program. You guys, you stayed on, and of course you interacted about the topic of discussion. We want to thank you for so doing. We'll have another interesting program for you tomorrow, God's willing, again, and we wish all the best to you. All right, we did receive word of a stabbing incident that happened at the Greenbridge area. We do not have the facts on it, only to know that it did happen. We have had pictures and so on to show that there was somebody who was seriously injured as a result of the stabbing incident. One person, an eyewitness, said that the victim was attacked by several persons. In terms of the actual condition of the person at this point in time, we are not sure, but we will see if we can get some more details on that for you and let you know tomorrow, God's willing, on tomorrow's broadcast. At this time, again, we would like to invite you, if you have not yet done so, to please go ahead and share the program. As we wish you a pleasant night, whatever your plans are for the remainder of the night, we hope that it will go through, work out to your expectation. All right, God bless you, and have a good night. Let's go. Oh, before I go, let me just pick up a few people on the program. Kenitha, Monica, Caroline, Kieran, Trevelyn, Esther, Sharon, Ezra, and Rayburn, Spice Girl, Brenda, Alla, Charles, Joycelyn, Shauna, Mom, Zaka, and Doria, Veronica, Abby, Wayne, and everyone else on the program, Lorraine, everyone else on the program, and those of you with or without badges, Sheba, and Claudette, and that will be Clesilda, all right, Stanislaus, big up yourself as well. And everybody else, Karen, I see you there as well. Irma, I see you there as well, all right? So, and Kevin, all of all the big up on yourself, all right? So let's go. And Jasmine, how are you doing? In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ja! No. Good night.